Welcome back to our special preview of Hong Kong International Race Day for 2016. We'll get to the sprint in a moment, but if you want to catch up on all the races on Sunday, head to the website, click on Horse Racing, and then Multimedia Showcase. That will take you through to the Racing to Win page. It'll be up the day before race day. 10 races on Sunday and a great undercard as well, so you can click on it and go through it race by race. So HKJC.com is the place to go. Now the sprint is up next, but again, before that, let's learn a little bit more about our record-breaking champion jockey, Joe Moreira, with Edward Sadler.
Joe, thanks for your time this morning. First of all, let's look back at your successes. Starting off, Able Friend, the champion horse of Hong Kong, going into the Hong Kong Mile. What were your thoughts going into that race?
My thoughts was the highest it's supposed to be, especially as he won the leading up race so well on the bridle. And I was very, very confident that he was going to make it. But I didn't think he was going to win as easy as he did.
All 1,300 pounds of him, and away he goes. Able Friend from last has put play to them quickly. Gold Fund resiliently battling on for second, but Able Friend bolts up for Joe Moreira.
When I look at the screen and I look around me, I didn't see horses not even closing up, not even their shadows. I knew we were on the way to the moon, so I was delighted.
And when you got off the horse, you said that he's the best you've ever ridden. Do you still maintain that Able Friend's the best horse you've ridden in your career?
I do. Even if there is some horse that I have ridden which gets very close to his standard as the #1 horse, but I believe he would have to be the #1 horse on my list.
And then you quickly back that up with Designs on Rome. You and Military Attack came with your runs together in that race. It was a great battle between the two horses. On the line, did you think you'd won?
I thought, but I knew it would be very close.
Criterion in front, at Military Attack descending on the scene. Designs on Rome the outside, he's in for the fight. Wow, they hit the line and Designs on Rome beat him.
I could feel like he had his stride, and he was like, my body in particular was just a touch ahead of the other rider on my inside, which was Zach Burton. But I could feel I would have won the race, but I was only sure when I looked at the board and saw my number up. So I was delighted to be winning the race.
Then going back to last year, 2015, Penophobia had good lead-up form going into that international sprint, but on the Thursday before the race, when you saw gate 14, it must have been a bit disappointing.
Oh, for sure. When we saw the worst gate of the gates, I was quite disappointed, but I knew he had form, I knew he was good enough to be competitive. He just needed things to go his way, which did. Just being out of the gate like how we've done, I knew I was going to be able to cross quickly and hold them back. He just kept running strongly to the line because he didn't have a very hard time for the first half of the race. And for that, he was able to carry on up into the line. As I said, he was a very nice horse to me, and he's definitely got a place into my heart.
Penophobia in front, Gold Fund can't reach him, and Penophobia all the way in the sprint defeats Gold Fund and not listening to me.
It's the biggest day of racing here in Hong Kong. You're the main man as far as the riders are concerned. How do you prepare for a big day like this? Is it just a normal meeting for you? What do you do in the lead up to it?
It's a normal meeting. I can't just complicate. I can't just put more stuff on myself and put too much things on our mind. Obviously, I'm doing homework, I'm doing our own physical stuff to make sure we feel good when it comes to the race. I try not to get too many light rides on the day, to don't burn myself before the race. I'm just hoping that I get everything well set up on my mind, have a good talk with the connection and absorb as much information as possible, and to the race we go.
And when you're riding a horse like Able Friend, who's one of the most popular horses here in Hong Kong, you're moving into the barriers for a big race like the Hong Kong Mile. What are the sort of feelings going through your body at that time?
During that time, I feel as normal as any other race day. But before that, like a week before, when I start thinking about it, building up tactics and things on my mind, is when my heart starts bumping a bit quicker. Even when I lie down on the bed at night, I start thinking about the race, how it can fall apart. My heart, and I feel that cooling in my stomach. But I don't see it as bad. That I would call it as hungriness. I love win races, and you have to have plans to be able to do so. But look, on the race day itself, I more kind of find it funny when I look around me and I see others a bit more nervous and not panic, but you can see the excitement on the people, and I try to treat it as a normal race.
We hope there's plenty more magic to come in the years ahead, Joe, and also on International Day. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
Of course, Joe Moreira successful on Peniophobia last year. Different jockey this time round as we have a look at the runners and riders for Sunday's sprint feature. Kicking off with Air of Velocity, a three-time Group 1 winner in 3 different countries in actual fact. Lucky Bubbles and Brett Preble. Peniophobia drew 14 last year. Comes off the inside this time, not listening to me. Won the trial race coming into this. Big Arthur, the big hope for Japan. Shouldn't discount Red Falcons though. Either Mirko Demura on board had a good night at Happy Valley. Strathmore for Tony Millard, 1 or 2 in the race. Growl from the UK, Takedown for Gary Moore, and Pure Sensation from the US. And Super Jockey, interesting prep for this, coming off a Group 1 win in Korea. So an interesting lineup here, Steve. First off, where do we want to start? Maybe last year's winner, Peniophobia, hasn't maybe been on the form he was last year.
No, but I think he will strip considerably fitter for the run in the Jockey Club Sprint, the lead-up race. I think the barrier draw has probably thrown all the marbles, literally, in Hong Kong's way here, hasn't it, with the top 5 in race order, all drawing favourably. And I think the race will be won by one of the Hong Kong sprinters.
All right, the 2 Japanese horses, we can't underestimate Red Falcon. Maybe a little bit of a surprise, but 1 from 1 in Group 1s. And Big Arthur, big reputation, but has the barrier put pay to his chance?
Well, it's not going to help. You know, Peniophobia showed last year that it can be done, and of course another Japanese horse, Lord Kanaloa, did a few years ago as well, but it's far from ideal. Yeah. It's the horse's first run outside of Japan as well, which is a variable to consider, and his task certainly hasn't been easy. You know, before, when I was looking at this race before the draw, I was inclined to favour the more hardened Hong Kong-based horses as it was. They have an exceptional record in the race, and the draw has only strengthened their hand, really, hasn't it?
Yes, I think some people are getting a little carried away to start mentioning Big Arthur in the same breath as Lord Kanaloa.
He was a genuine superstar, wasn't it?
Yep.
But with the Hong Kong horses, there isn't one that stands head and shoulders above the other one, is there? They're all very, very good, but there's a few of them quite even.
That's true, and I certainly wouldn't be shocked to see a length and 3/4 between the first 7 here at the finish. It'll be a very competitive race. I'm inclined to trust what I saw in the Jockey Club Sprint. Lucky Bubbles, I think, will take significant improvement off that run. But I think not listening to me was quite impressive. I think the little gear change, the tinkering with the way they've trained him this time in, and a good solid bond with Hugh Bowman. I think he will tend to be underestimated for a last start winner.
All right, well, let's learn a little bit more about one of the local runners as well, and that's Lucky Bubbles with Brett Preble.
Brett, gate 5 for Lucky Bubbles on the weekend. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it's a great gate. Obviously, he's got many options from there. Good speed, obviously he's drawing 1 and 2, and there's a fair bit of speed out wide, so they're not going to stand around.
Is there a preference with him, or is he the sort of horse that you can position him wherever you'd like to be in the run?
He's very versatile, so just naturally where he wants to be comfortable, and that's probably the best way to ride most horses, you know. So he's going to get his chance from there, and if he puts his hand up and he's good enough, he'll go and do it.
You ride him every day, you know the horse very well. How is he leading into the race? Are you happy with his condition?
You know, he's not a heavy-framed horse. He doesn't need a lot of work. So, you know, he's had a very good preparation. He's going in at 3rd up, about, you know, and I think probably to take a next step to have a peak run.
Kevin, a horse we haven't touched on yet is Growl. Now, we'll say progressive. He's late to the Group 1 scene. Is he good enough for a race like this?
Oh, he has to go and prove it, but he has been exceptionally progressive. You know, he's improved a huge amount in a relatively short space of time at home, but this is different. It's different for any European sprinter to come here and run in a race like this, and for one like him that has, you know, next to no experience at the very highest level, I think it's going to be a real culture shock for him. And while I know his trainer is cautiously optimistic, a little bit less so after he saw his draw, but I couldn't quite see it myself. It would come as a surprise to me anyway.
Yeah, all right, we're trained by Richard Fahey and Graham Lee, recently crowned champion jockey on board. Let's learn a little bit more about the Japanese horses too, Red Falcons and Big Arthur, with a man in the know. That's Nihiro Goda.
Start off with Big Arthur. You mentioned before when I spoke to you that temperament for him is so important. What do we need to look out for on race day?
Well, you know, this morning, you know, he was very well settled, and he's, you know, worked very well. And the trainer Fujioka is very, very happy with his current condition. But once again, the parade ring, you know, he can be very hot. So please, you know, do not forget about watching him in the parade ring. Once you find that he's, you know, walking calmly, gently, I think he can run his race. But still, I think Hong Kong sprinters are very tough to beat.
And Red Fox, though, does look to be coming into the race in very good form.
Yes, he has won 3 races in a row, improving a lot. But a sprinter stakes, is the very fast, very tough test for him, and he cleared the test. But still, once again, the standard of the sprinter stakes this year is not the very best in the history. So I hope he finishes in fast 4.
A couple of other horses we need to talk about very quickly, Kevin. Pure Sensation, great to have an American runner. He's going the wrong way and he's drawn wide as well. If he got on the inside, you think the field might have helped him keep him straight, but...
Yeah, well, I'd say a few of his rivals will be relieved that they don't have him down their inside, because you don't know how he's going to handle that bend. I liked the run last time, and I think that form is quite high class, but that draw is not going to make things easy. He'll need to handle the bend exceptionally well. Unlikely to have anything on his outside. So while he was one coming in before the barrier draw, he was one I certainly had quite high on my list. He's dropped a notch or 2 now after the draw.
He can run time, that's one thing he can do with that wide draw. And very quickly, Steve, on the 2 Australian runs, Takedown and Rebel Dane.
Yes, I think they're capable of running sort of top 5 with the right breaks. They're both drawn to get stalking runs 5th, 6th. It's interesting and somewhat embarrassing to report that since Felvalon won this race in successive years, 2000 and 2001, the home of the sprinter, my country, Australia, we've had 15 runners for 1 placing. But that 1 place getter was Apache Cat, and he was a stalking on-speed runner, and he came via the Winterbottom Stakes in Perth, which is a good reference for Takedown. I think with a bit of luck in running, put it this way, they're going in my trifectas.
Yeah, and Gary Moore certainly comes here with a lot of confidence. So neck on the line time. Steve, again, you can lead off here. Top 4 for the sprint.
I'm going with Not Listening to Me, only because I think there's not much between the Hong Kong sprinters, and I think he's the one who'll be most ignored on the tote here. I think he's drawn to get an absolutely beautiful run, and I'm keen on him. As I mentioned, I'm happy to respect the Jockey Club sprint form, so obviously the danger for me is 2 Lucky Bubbles. 1 Aero Velocity, who I think will just come on from his last run, and I'm very reluctant to dismiss 5 Amazing Kids, just that John size factor. 6 months ago we were talking about him being the new star of Hong Kong sprinting. I just wonder whether John Size might have something up his sleeve with this horse.
Yeah.
So 4 to beat, 2, 1 and 5.
And Kevin, can you see it be a home victory, or is this going overseas too?
Oh, I think this one will be staying at home. I've gone with number 1, Aero Velocity, to lead them home, and number 2, Lucky Bubbles, to perhaps follow him home, followed by Pure Sensation, number 13, and number 3, Peniophobia.
Yeah, I think the locals are going to be very hard to beat here, and I'm going to go with Lucky Bubbles on top. You can only have 4. I probably could have had 6 here, and it's not to say it's certainly one of the more open races on the card, but Lucky Bubbles on top. Strathmore I like for Tony Millard, Neil Callan on board. Prep for this race, he's drawn well. Takedown, I could see running a mighty race takedown for Gary Moore. He's drawn barrier 6, he's looked enormous in track work this week. And I can't live out Big Arthur. Ryan Moore on board, great pickup ride, that's certainly a positive, but the wide draw might just slow him slightly, so we go 2, 10, 12 and 6 from me in the sprints. After the break, we'll be having a look at the mile, plus a one-on-one with Zach Purton.